Happy you could join us on, you'll see why in a minute, we're celebrating this, Kazimir Pulaski Day. That got a smile, a rare smile out of MLB Mike, who's on the board here.
Smile all the time.
He's excited about this because he is one of the guys that helps to manage the Pulaski Days. He's a proud Polish person, as am I. We've got a few in studio here because Mom's in studio. And I don't think my colleague and buddy Clay has any Polish heritage. He's shaking his head at me. I didn't think so. We would have found that. But my question to you, Mike, to celebrate Kazimir Pulaski Day is, this might be a tough one though, because usually it's kind of like, okay, whatever, just say a sandwich or whatever. Favorite Polish food? That's what I want to know.
Oh, if it's made right, gołąbki.
Okay, that's a good.
Yeah, absolutely. Kibas is across the board fine, but if you get the right gołąbki, which if the non-Polish don't know what that is, it's a cabbage roll around some kind of a meat concoction.
Yep, beef, rice combo usually.
Just, incredible.
With tomato sauce on top.
Yep.
That's a good pick. That's a solid. If we ever did, you weren't here for this episode, Mike, but we did Thanksgiving foods draft over Thanksgiving because we actually had a show on Thanksgiving on the Shane Graham show, and we actually drafted a whole meal on the show. Live.
What one?
Well, see, that's what we needed. I actually had a guest lined up to grade our picks the next week, but then he didn't end up coming on, so they never got graded. Okay. So we ended up picking basically like draft style, where like a fantasy draft, we picked in like a snake format. Okay, you had to pick a main, two sides, and a dessert. Oh, wow. And then also the play-by-play and analyst combo that you would want to listen to for your Thanksgiving game, because I wanted to have a sports element to it.
Okay, well, you had to reach out for that. Okay, got it.
So, yeah, we had a lot of the traditional ones, obviously turkey and all the traditional sides.
I'll be the same. I'm going to go along those lines. I mean, turkey and dressing and mashed potatoes and gravy and it's all good. Commentators, I don't pay much attention to that. I'm watching the game, so
right. I feel like that's more of an old school concept too. I think it seems like people are more focused on the commentators nowadays. But not that you would have listened to him, not that he's of your era, but like a Vin Scully, he would have been a type to kind of leave
Bernie
it.
Harwell.
Yeah,
and everybody's armchair quarterback nowadays, and they have something to say about everything, and I don't like that so much. Let them do their job. Ernie was great. Vince Scully was great. These guys, I don't hate them enough to say, you have to stop doing this. I don't. So what do you think about that?
I think it's a little bit of a generational thing. I think the younger people have a tendency to like the filling that, say, like a Jason Benetti has a tendency to do. He doesn't leave a lot of moments. He's very active. Clay Kregel, who's in from Encore, who's in studio to co-host and talk some memorabilia and a bunch of subjects. I know he's a Benetti fan, but I do think this is somewhat generational with these commentators, because you like Dickerson too, sure, but he's got a different style.
Yeah. I think the combination of Benetti and Dirks together, those guys are just. Baseball can be a little bit slower naturally as a game, but with the season being the length that it is, I think sometimes you do need some entertainment in there, and I think Benetti does a great job balancing that. And Dirks, we never really know what Dirks is doing up there, but he occasionally provides some good analysis and talks about fast food deals and pizza and whatever. But
I like that you mentioned Dirks, because he's a regular guy.
He is.
He just is, and I love when he's on the air, and he always gives you something, and he lived it. He was right there.
Yep. He doesn't have much of an ego to him for a guy that played a few years in the MLB, and he just seems like a regular dude that likes baseball and likes to make jokes and kind of mess with Benetti at times. So.
He's a good fit with Benetti, I think, too. Mike, do you like Dan Petrie as the pairing for either Dickerson or Benetti?
I mean, if you give me any guy old school, back when we're talking 68 Tigers now, but he went around that block and he has got it down. He knows exactly his delivery. If somebody's put off by it, I don't care. But no, he knows his stuff, and he's very insightful about these young guys coming up and what they might be or might not be doing. So I like him.
I like when the Dans are paired together, Dickerson and Petrie. I think that's a pretty good combo. But they also made the Petrie-Benetti combo work better, I think, as time went on. Benetti kind of loosened him up, where he's not as loose as Dirks, but nobody's as loose as Dirks up there. I think he's almost too loose, as Clay referred to.
I don't know. I just like the freewheeling. Throw something out there that the everyday guy is going to, oh, wait a minute. Hey, yeah, that's true. Kind of a thing.
You can see why that guy was good in the clubhouse, because he's got a lot of clubhouse isms from his career, but you can see how he would get along with pretty much everybody. And even the way he talks about people, you can tell some of the people he talks about maybe weren't getting along with the clubhouse quite as well. Maybe, like, for example, somebody that recently got signed again by the Tigers. The way he talks about them is a little bit different than the way he talks about everybody else, but you can tell he got along with everybody else. Sure. That it was like, oh yeah, he just rolled with their personalities. And you need guys like that can fill a spot and kind of fit in with all the other guys, because I'll just name them. The Verlanders of the world may not necessarily fit in with everybody, but he's also a star player. He's a pitcher. He's a little bit more volatile. He's going to be a little different on his start days, so he might provide a little bit different element in the clubhouse. Doesn't mean it's bad.
He's earned that. He's a Hall of Famer until he retires, but no, he's earned that, and all the stud pitchers or stud players are. So, yeah, if you want to get mad at a Verlander for offending you, get over it, I'm glad he's there. I really am glad he's there. He's going to be so much for the younger guys.
What do you think of the moves so far, Mike? We haven't been able to talk about the moves basically since they've started making moves, because they were a little bit slow in the start of the offseason. Then they went for Valdez. They got Verlander in there. They found out that Olson's probably not going to go this year, so they filled in Verlander there, so they have a bit of a bridge. Yeah, I like the move. I think he's still pitching remarkably well. He's my age, and he's still pitching, which is amazing to me.
He had a killer end of last year. Verlander did, and whether he can carry it forward, I don't know. But to have the guy that's been around the block, like I said, have there for the young guys, he still sounds like he wants to pitch every fifth day, and is he going to, or just hit year number 43? So you had a birthday here, or it's coming up.
I think he just hit it. Yeah.
Okay. And good for him. And I'm so glad he came back. I thought that was just a pipe dream. Someday, kind of a wish, but he's done enough, and he knows his way around everything, and he can give so much knowledge to these young guys.
And to have him as wherever he ends up slotting in at, I don't know what you talked about him basically pitching every fifth day and being a regular in the rotation. That would be the hope, as long as his health holds. I don't even know beyond Skubal and Valdez, I assume, how those 3 through 5 are now going to slot in, because you just got good veteran pitchers there with Mize, Flaherty, and Verlander.
They've picked up so much pitching, like they have every year since Harris has been there. They got guys in the wings like you read about. Not sure if any of them can step up, but they've got the backup. They got the backup that if somebody like Melton, he was going to be one of the 5, and now he's not. He's going to be put on hold because he's got an arm problem. So they got other guys.
They seem to be right-sizing their rotation and bullpen now. We're going to talk about this some with Tony Wolak of the Hockey Writers, who's going to be covering the Red Wings for us later in the show. But he's talking about possible trades for the Red Wings that basically take somebody and slot them ahead so you can move everybody else down. And I feel like that's what they tried to do with the Tigers rotation. They got a couple guys that will rest pretty well at the top, both at the front end and the back end, because you added Jansen, you resigned Finnegan, and now you've got those two in the mix with Vest. So you slot everybody into, in baseball, it's kind of the middle, because you go into middle relief, you go into the earlier innings of relief, and you've got a lot of guys that can fill in and be a sixth starter. Like you said, Melton, we'll see what happens with his injury, but Montero and some of the other guys on that team. And then you've got a lot of guys that are put in the right place. I really hammered Tommy Canley, which was probably brought up bad memories of last year.
I think a lot of people hammered Tommy Canley last year.
There you go. That's what we needed there. And because he was the guy that it was like they needed somebody else to fill that role, and then they threw him out in the eighth, and that just probably wasn't really the right time for him. And now they've got guys, high leverage guys, that can come in and do a lot. I actually liked Canley for a good portion of the year. He was just overexposed. Yeah. He was shown to other lineups too much. Now they won't have that issue as much.
Scouting does. Just like the Tigers' offense last postseason went dead, they knew what they couldn't hit, and they just keep feeding it to them, and they couldn't adjust. That's the name of the game. Every team's got to do it,
and hopefully the discipline improves this year. They were trying, and I think at the first half of the season last year they were more disciplined. We've talked about that, Clay, how the difference between the first half and the second half, especially on the hitting side, but pitching as well, was pretty stark.
Yeah, we saw guys like Zach McKinstry made the All-Star team last year. Hot first half. Javi Baez, hot first half, made the All-Star team. So, they kind of all fell apart at the same time, it seemed like, at the second half of the year. But moving forward this year, I expect guys like Green, Keith, hopefully Meadows take a step. I know Hinch was talking about that on the telecast yesterday, that he wants to see everybody kind of lift up a little bit. And I think the Tigers are in a great position where their pitching can carry them up until the trade deadline. And if they do need to make a move, and add a bat or two, I think they have the resources to do so at that time.
We talked about that with Brandon Day a little bit when we debuted the MLB coverage last week, because we talked about possibly consolidating some pieces at the deadline for a bat and saying, okay, we're going to gather as much information we can over the course of the season, who's coming up from the minor leagues, who's doing well at the major leagues, and where's our hole to fill here.
Yep. And I'm reluctant to McGonigal's killing it. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that they just settle down, let him get some seasoning down at AAA, not bring him into the fire right away. I mean, right now he's killing it, but he's playing it against a lot of spring training players. Just like the Tigers have been putting out there. What have they won? 2 or 3 games so far, and spring training records don't mean anything. You're putting those players out to get some seasoning, and a lot of those guys are not even going to be around. But for McGonigal to be doing this, great. He's been doing that all along, but top-notch talent against him once he gets here. I'd hate for him to be over his head.
He's an interesting one because I get the need for seasoning, and I do think that he could probably use some given his age and everything, but he's also excelled at every level he's been at.
Okay, then
so
there's that.
So no, you're right though, Mike. That's kind of the juxtaposition with him, that you don't necessarily know. Okay, because he is a professional hitter too at his level. I know he hasn't been professional yet at the major league level, but he just doesn't seem like the guy that's going to wither under the pressure either.
I know. That's everything. All signs are up, thumbs up, all the way across. But it just makes me nervous just to have a guy that's never been to AAA and throw him into the limelight. And if he's going to stumble, everyone stumbles, but how bad? And I'd hate to take the feet out of him, or take him out of the knees, I guess I should say. But yeah, I'm hoping they keep him down, but At this point, I'm not so sure.
I
It's
think
gonna be hard.
The big thing with him is there's never been a clearer pathway to playing time for him right now.
Yeah.
We don't know if Parker Meadows is going to be the regular everyday center fielder, which kind of shifts Javi Baez out to center field potentially. Trey Sweeney's down right now; he's hurt. So I think there's a clear opening at that shortstop position. We saw yesterday on the telecast. McGonigal played. He had some pretty good plays defensively. I know that was a little bit of a concern at times, but he's kind of shown it all this spring.
Yep.
And I know MLB Mike, you did say that spring training doesn't matter too much, but he's shown he belongs so far.
I
so
know, and I was hoping he wouldn't so much.
right.
Yeah. Well, and I do think that that's one of the reasons they didn't add bats in the free agency period so far too, because I think they're waiting for some of these guys to come up. No, not necessarily waiting forever, and they might. I think they'll do what Clay was talking about and possibly add something at the trade deadline. They didn't find a good fit from a hitting perspective, didn't find the right contract level, whatever, with the guys they were interested in, but they consolidate some pieces, then trade and possibly bring some guys up at that time, maybe two, for some reinforcements, because you see where can we fill the holes internally and where can we fill the holes externally with those pieces. But it's an interesting conversation. It's an exciting time for the Tigers as a whole.
Well, 2 years to the playoffs, and they're ramped up pitching-wise anyway. To get us there again, just they have to figure out how to hit the ball.
The roster seems to have improved this offseason. I think that's an easy statement, and they were top of the division for the majority of the year last year. Yeah, they scuffled down the stretch, but they still won a series in the playoffs, and they have some momentum. Average age was pretty low last year, so they're it's going to go up a lot this year, mainly because of the older guys they acquired. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But we'll take a quick break. We got to check what's going on in here in studio, Mike. Are the people stealing stuff from in studio? Do we got to call Scott here or what?
There's four shady looking guys that just carried stuff out of here, so I'm not sure what that means.
Scott usually listens when I'm talking baseball, so if you're listening, Scott, we'll try to protect the studio best we can here.
I can't promise anything,
Mike's not jumping in front of any bullets for you, Scott.
No.
Stick with us. We'll come back with Clay and Mike in studio. You're listening to Sports Intel on Jethro FM.